All right, Thomas Dimitroff, we always love talking to him. Sumer Sports, former GM of the Atlanta Falcons, of course. Interviewed for a couple jobs this year in the league as well. So we got a lot to talk to you about. I'm excited.
A lot going on here, right? Today's the buzz day, though. It's starting.
I got to be honest. I don't want to derail the interview right at the start, but we have a similar hair pattern going on right now, and I think that this is something that we come on. Let's go. We look good, do we not?
It's so funny you say that. I was looking. I'm like, God, am I looking in the mirror on the? Someone told me last night they called me a silver fox, and I'm like, I thought it was only partially gray. And the woman's like, no.
Yeah, we got to lean in, but we're still young. We're still young. Damn it!
Every year it's slowly happening more and more to me too.
No, you're doing well.
We're getting there. So a lot going on in the league, and I want to hit on what you guys are doing at Sumer Sports, of course, too. But just let's start with the Bears because we only have a limited amount of time with you. As you were kind of going through the process with the GM opportunities you were looking at this year, I'm sure you were looking at all kind of the jobs and the situations. What did you make about what the Bears job offered? Because just being in Chicago, we're like, yeah, they'll probably go after Ben Johnson, but we're kind of used to being passed over by the top candidates. So the fact that Ben clearly wanted it because that happened so fast after the Lions lost. What did you just make of that whole situation and that decision?
Look, I want you guys to know, you guys are in the middle of it all. And, as an outsider, people still look towards Chicago and the Chicago Bears with the history. There's some really cool cachet there. I know sometimes it's tough to see that, right? So I would just say I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that organization is going to draw one of the best coaches out there. And, obviously you guys got the hot commodity there. So I thought it was a great opportunity. I think Ryan Poles to be able to work, with Ben is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. My head is on that, right? I'm looking at when you bring in a new head coach, and that new head coach is he's a very smart guy, of course, but he's not one of those guys I think is like a power monger guy that wants to be in there and butt heads. So that's why I'm thinking that it could work. Who knows how that works out, though, right? I don't know where your place is on that.
So I'm looking at your history, and I'm taking that to the Bears. I'm like, okay, drafted Matt Ryan, built sustained success, and got right there. Should have won, could have won, all that type of stuff. So what do you? And the Bears have just not had that at all. So what do you think the key is to building around a quarterback, figuring out what he needs, and making it work?
Yeah, you're talking about sustained success, and we started in Atlanta. It was a treacherous situation. It was coming off the Michael Vick debacle back in 2008. And what we did is we were just very mindful about making sure that you brought your young quarterback along, no matter how good they are. You don't throw them 60 times a game. We made sure that we had the right people around them. This was something I stole from the Bill Polian book, right? What he did in Indianapolis about just making sure you have the right people around that quarterback. And you guys do there. When I think about Chicago, there's some talented people. How you navigate that is really important. And my deal, I'm a huge believer in tight ends, by the way. I've been trumpeting that forever. You have a young quarterback, high percentage shot tight end, or two. Get a legit combination F and Y, like one of the studs out there. I think those are great short and intermediate passes for that guy. I think you're starting to throw downfield, and you're waiting with an offensive line that you guys need work on, right? We know that. And I think he gets pummeled too much, of course, and we can get into that. I just think there's a way to continue to protect that guy and make sure that you're building around that quarterback, which we know how important the O-line is. And I think that's something that if I were to ever come back, not that I didn't concentrate on it, guys, in Atlanta, but sustain toughness, in and out every year. That's one of the areas that I would really focus on. We know that. It's not rocket science, right? But you also have to have everyone believing that you're heading in the right direction for sustain, and you're not just quick hit trying to, hit it right away and move on, right? That's a big thing internally in the organization.
So no two coaches are the same, but when we were kind of evaluating Ben Johnson before he took the job, I did look at Kyle Shanahan's situation with you guys, just in fact, him being like kind of the hot OC that had success for multiple years in one of the top offenses in the league, and then getting his first opportunity to be a head coach. What did you, just looking at Kyle's situation, like, were you convinced that was going to work when he went to that next level, when he became a head coach, like some of those qualities? Because that's the one big story with Ben Johnson. Like, we don't know. He's never done it before.
Right. And which is another thing that's interesting. The first-timers, right, it's always easy to give the right answer and like, wow, he's going to be easy to walk to the podium. I'll answer the same thing with all the young GMs getting jobs over experienced GMs. Why is there not a number? Why isn't there not a lot of GMs getting a second chance? And I have my strong opinion. We can get into that. With Ben, compared to Kyle Kyle had an air about him and a confidence about him, having grown up around it all his life. I was never once worried. If anything, I thought with Kyle, once he got that gig, he was going to be able to push aside some of the stuff that happened with some of, as a coordinator where he was in Cleveland, a couple places where he was at loggerheads with the GM as a coordinator. That rarely happens, by the way. I just thought when he finally got to a spot, he was going to be in that omnipotent spot, and that was going to be best for him. Some people thrive on that. With Ben, he's a quiet guy, right? Or he seems that way. He's not one of those guys like he'll close his door at the office, at least in Detroit, and do a lot of really good work, like really good, massive brain work on things. But we all know the next level, next job, that's a leader of men, right? That's a big thing, and this is his time to show that side of him, which is going to be really fun to watch him develop and evolve that way.
Well, your mentor, Bill Belichick, ultimate leader of men, why? And, of course, now in Carolina. Why do you think that seemingly he wanted to come back to the NFL and nobody wanted to hire Bill Belichick?
I know. I went online last year, and I took some heat for it in Atlanta because I thought he is the best coach to bring someone to a Super Bowl within 3 years. That's what I still believe. So, people were doing their digging. This comes back to what I was saying. When you have a history and a long history, there are a lot of people waiting in the weeds, and there always have been with him, right? I feel that's a big thing. So why is he not? He's going to go into an organization, be the dude in charge, call it the way it is. There's no way he's going to. I don't want to answer for Bill, but I would never want to put him in that spot to kind of answer to a general manager. That's not what his deal is. And there are too many people out there right now, I think, organizations that want things to be parsed out. That's what I'm realizing more and more. Even the GM positions that people are interviewing for now, and some that I did, the more information I got back, they were trying to narrow down the scope of the general manager job because it's such big business now. When I went into Atlanta and when people are going into organizations and they have 10 different departments that they're responsible for, video, player performance, player engagement, et cetera, on top of building the team and on top of cap and contract, teams are trying to narrow that down so they can really focus on building the team and coaching the team. And that's why I think you're going to start seeing more presidents over top of football operations taking care of a lot of the other stuff. They're still going to be paying them very well. By the way, don't even get me started on the difference between salaries between head coaches and GMs. As much as I think that the head coaches deserve a lot of money in this league, that 3 and 4 time differential is just it's wrong.
Does that create an awkward dynamic at times at all?
I always thought I think it doesn't as much because I think there's a great respect for the coaches out there and what they do. I just think when you're paying coaches $10, $12, $15 million and you're paying a GM $4 million. Now again, we're talking about really, really funky stuff here, right? We're talking about money. I get it, but I'm just saying, market-wise, like that's a really interesting conversation out there.
I was wondering about that. If I'm Ryan Poles and I need somebody to kind of rescue me, but here you go. There's $13 million a year for 5 years. I'm making. Okay, I'm not making that. We don't. But sure. Also, it's like. From my standpoint, you're making $4 million a year. You're okay, but
and
the ego,
you need to win.
But the ego is.
I think that's it, right? You're exactly right. Back in the day, people were, and again, in the real world, I get it, but 10, 12 years ago, people were making $800,000 to $1 million as a GM average. Those numbers are going up crazy, right? The coaches, even more important, are going into the mid-teens. Like that's unbelievable and beyond. Right. So. To your point, Ryan, I'm sure has it look like I'm doing well, I'm fine. We don't care about, presidents a lot of times in the league are making even less than all of them, but they have longevity.
Right.
And so that's what you're paying for, I'm sure.
Yep.
I could probably do a 2-hour podcast with you with the amount of questions. We'll have to have you back on again soon. Tell us what's going on in Sumer Sports, though, because we've been following this for a few years now. Super cool things that you guys are doing.
Really excited about it. In the midst of all these interviews, I thought, look, this is such a great company, and this is where my passion and desire is to be a part of the evolution of the NFL, right? Where data is going. It's not black box in any way. It's not pushing a button saying these are our answers. It's an augmentation tool. We are a subjective and objective third party. I don't think there's anyone else out there that can touch us with that. We have, like I told you, we have over 25 NFL people involved in it. We have over 40-plus data scientists and engineers. We have a really good mix of that, and all of that information together. Our B2B is NFL, and we're dabbling, of course, not dabbling, we're very involved in the NCAA as well. I know this isn't an NCAA discussion point here. There's a lot of great data out there. You have to use data in this league, in the NFL, to progress. And if you're not, I just think it's a short sight. You know that. And it's again, back to augmentation, I'll just say this. Anything I do right now, if I were to ever come back, I would 100% be the person that's my background, right? I am an evaluator by trade. But to be able to juxtapose with data points when you're talking about a guy's agility or you're talking about a guy's ability to sink an anchor or whatever it may be when you're evaluating, there are ways and data out there right now to say, whoa, you have him as a 6'5", Thomas, and the data is saying he's a 7'5". Don't change it to a 7'5". Bring it back to the staff. Let's watch more video on it and decide why there's a difference there. That's what our deal is.
It's super cool stuff, and like I said, we'll have to talk to you more about it in the future.
I guess I got to do one more. I'm sorry. Yeah. Caleb, when will they know? How do you?
Jeez. When will they know if he's
yes? Does it have to happen this year? Like, how would you look at it? How would you be evaluating him? He had a decent first year, but there's a lot more there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more. I just think you need to see the incremental progression, and it has to be substantial, right? That's in my mind. That's what I would be looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thomas, thanks so much, man.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Anytime.
Great hair. Love it.
You too.